That was super cool. Greetings, Wanderer. This is PATHLESS here, and welcome to the Void. Today I'm going to be reacting and breaking down a song called The Path to Salvation from the PATHLESS original soundtrack. This is one of the coffee personal requests that I had scheduled for this month, and this one comes from Bursting Freeze. And the message says, "Hi Atlas, my title will be from the game The Pathless. It is called The Path to Salvation." Thank you very much, Bursting Freeze, of course, for your request and your incredible support. The message also says in a forward message, yes, that this is a boss battle theme, okay? So I am not familiar with this video game at all. Maybe I've heard it mentioned somewhere in the press and whatnot, but not really anything further than that, alright? So I am going 100% well, probably 99 because there's some context that Bursting Freeze gave, but other than that, yes, for the most part I'm just blind to it, okay? But before we start, I would like to invite you to listen to my latest track, which is a BERSERK inspired track called Conceived in Blood, which is the song that you have been listening in the background of the intro of this video so far. So if you like what you hear so far and you would like to hear the full song, I'm gonna leave it in this card right here, but also in the description of this video, right? And with that being said, onward. Right, so this is going to be The Path to Salvation from the PATHLESS original soundtrack. Boom. Oh, this is by Austin. This is by Austin Wintory. That's great. Some throat singing, that's great. Mates, the percussion arrangements are crazy. Wow. Wow, this transition was insane. The track changed completely. Is that like a mandolin? No, that is, there's like a mandolin or higher kind of register lute or something. Compared to a guitar. Wow, this part is such a contrast to the beginning of the song. That was super cool. The throat singing is so cool. Such a cool addition to the song. I love the brass, mate. The brass has been killing it all the song. I really like the contrast in between. There's like a high energy explosive section, then transitions to a low energy, goes back, and then comes to this. This is the lowest one so far. And the sustained note at the back, like a droning effect. Almost, of course. The song ends with a percussion hit. That was crazy. All right. Well, this song is has of course, like I said before, it has you can break it down in two separate sections in which you have, you know, the climaxes of a song, let's say, or the high energy parts, and then the transition to the, you know, more tamed, quieter, lower energy parts that are there to make a contrast to the other thing. Okay. This song has a lot of things. I'm just going to concentrate on one specific part, which is the one that I like the most, and then I'm going to be talking more in depth about that specifically, but also in regards to the instruments and the arrangement in general, and how it obviously relates to the storytelling of what Bursting Freeze was talking about, which is basically this is a boss battle, end boss theme. All right. So let's break it down. Okay, so for this first part of the breakdown, I'm going to get my acoustic guitar and I'm going to noodle around a little bit, on improvise on top of a song to see where it leads me, to get a feel of it, and maybe explain a little bit what's going on in terms of maybe the chord progression and where the melody is going and so on and so forth. I would like to do that mainly in the second section that we hear in the song, which is the, you know, the more tame, toned down section of the track, because of course the song starts with a very high energy, you know, sort of part with this sort of fanfare, with a lot of attack, not only provided by the arrangements in the brass, but also, you know, the more spiccato playing in the strings and so on and so forth. So let me get my guitar. Okay, so just something to take into consideration. I'm not going for accuracy, okay? I am not going to play exactly the same thing as there is in the composition, because like I said, it's going to be more of an improvisation kind of thing. But it's going to be to a certain amount, you know, let's say like 70% or 80% close to what the composition is, okay? So I'm going to play a little bit of what the brass and the string section is doing in the intro to as an example of how the attack and the intensity of the notes and the arrangement itself adds to the very premise of the boss battle, but also, you know, the energy of it and so on and so forth. So yeah, as you can hear, there's the melody itself, it's very rhythmic, you know, there is spaces in between, you know, silences in between the notes and so on and so forth, and those silences contribute to the more sort of quote-unquote percussive rhythmic nature that it has, because it's different to listen to something like that to listening to something where all the notes connect in between each other, either, you know, just by the way it is the melody is written, not so much by the way it's played, like in legato or whatnot. Okay, so it's very aggressive. It obviously, of course, having those particular attributes, let's say, being aggressive, being very percussive, quote unquote, they have a lot of attack. They obviously are trying to translate the very nature of where the song is playing, which is obviously this end boss kind of battle. Now I'm gonna move forward to where the transitions comes in, and we hear the song taking another tone, a whole complete contrast. Apologies, to what we hear in the first part, which is very high energy, high stakes. It has a lot of tension built into it, but then it releases that tension when we come into the spot. So yeah, as you can very much hear, we can hear like a C minor arpeggiated chord, and there's something very cool that I think, I'm almost certain that is in the composition too, which is transforming that a C minor chord into a suspended chord by just doing a very tiny let's say modification on it. It's just one note. And I think this is pretty cool also because of an ego kind of thing, because I actually like to do those kind of things myself in my music, where I just make this chord progression a very easy chord progression, but that also sounds pretty cool. So I'm gonna give you an example of that from going in between that minor chord to a suspended chord by exerting minimal effort into doing so. So let's hear it. So I don't know if you noticed, but my right hand, which is the hand that actually is fingering the strings to be able to play the chord, barely change its shape. You know what I mean? I just barely moved a finger to be able to play the other chord. So those kind of things are, of course, this is talking from a guitar perspective, of course. It could be very different in a piano or in another instrument where you can actually play like polyphonic, which is a polyphonic instrument, let's say. But aside from that, you can see that I barely made a move in there. But what's very cool about it is that the chord progression actually sounds really good, and I think it's the same thing in the song. It's a very tamed part where you hear the C minor chord, then it goes into a suspended kind of thing, just to give it a little bit of variation and also a little bit of tension, because to me suspended chords are very much like, I don't want to sound like cheesy and say like they are suspended in the air or something, but I'm gonna use that anyway because it actually gives this sort of neutral ground. These kind of chords give like neutral ground towards something that is coming later. Okay, so you have some sort of ground listening to the minor chord. But then when the suspended chord comes in, it serves like a neutral point, but also as a transition element, let's say, towards the next part of a song. But I think it just goes back again towards the C minor chord. And what's cool about it is that this track has some exotic elements to it, not only in the vocals, because we hear throat singing into it, but also exotic instruments. There's a wind instrument that I cannot recognize, but I'm pretty sure that it comes from somewhere in Asia, like Japan or China or Korea or something like that. And also we hear like a stringed instrument that is not a guitar, and it sounds very exotic I'm fairly certain that it comes also from those, eastern parts of Asia, like Japan or Korea or, China, something like that. Well, China is pretty big, but let's say, like, for a general example, it comes from around those parts. It could be even a Mongolian instrument for that sake. You know what I mean? So yeah, that could be also a probability. And I hear that the melodies that are played in this instrument, in this stringed instrument, are sort of a pocket kind of a scale. And from my experience, playing Japanese scales and whatnot, and then scales that are very much from Japanese culture, Korean culture, or Chinese culture, they're a pocket basically. They're like pentatonic scales, but the way you play them is what actually makes them have that exotic sort of sound. I'm going to make an example of that right here over that C minor, a C suspended chord, so you can hear the how it sounds like regional from that region specifically. Okay, so as you can see or hear more than likely, but also see, pocket scales are like scales that you don't. Okay, it's like visually, I'm talking about visually. It's not scales that go all around the fretboard. Like they are like 2 notes per string, kind of things, where you see that the pocket it's like right here. Okay. But the thing is that those kind of pocket scales are like could sound like bluesy or like like a blues scale or whatnot. But the thing is how you execute them, So by adding a little bit of an odd vibrato to it, I was able to give it that more of an exotic feel that would be more of a regional kind of thing towards Asia and whatnot. Because if you only play the notes, or maybe you start doing crazy bends and whatnot, that would turn it more into kind of a bluesy kind of thing, or even country kind of thing. And you don't want that in this kind of song because it sounds like out of it, of course. Okay, so as you can see and hear, I had to, for example, if from my perspective in executing a little bit of where the song was going in terms of the scale and the chord progression or whatnot, but very much in the scale, I had to add a little something to the expression or the execution of the song, which was to add those vibratos and those odd vibratos in the notes, because otherwise, like I said before, it would sound like too plain or out of what the premise of a song is. And I got this idea because when you hear the throat singing, there's like an odd kind of vibrato that happens in the throat singing that is very, of course, regional to that part. So when you add that to this kind of instrument that is, like it's just an acoustic guitar, it will have that effect. Also, remember that the string instrument that is played in this part is not I don't think it's an acoustic, a plain acoustic guitar. It's like an actual exotic instrument from East Asia or something like that. So in this particular case, in the composition itself, like the instrument doesn't have those crazy or odd vibratos, because the sound of the instrument itself, it's already exotic, original enough, to sound like it where it pertains, which is this Mongolian kind of vibe that is going on. So in terms of execution, you don't need to do that because the sound of the instruments is already giving you that. However, you could also add the vibrato to it just to add expression on top of the already very seamless sound characteristic that the instrument has. But that would be just to color the or not so much color, but gives like an extra little bit of expression into the song, which is not really required, because that expression, to me at least, came from very much from the throat singing and the brass arrangements and all that, right? So yeah, I think my favorite parts were probably like the brass arrangements. The percussion was crucial in it also. I've noticed that Austin likes to do like odd, not necessarily like odd time signatures, but he would take like a 4x4 and do like very odd accents within those, very fairly common time signatures, you know what I mean? Which is very refreshing, but also sometimes it's like hard to get into because they are odd, you're trying to sometimes, like, I think we human beings want let's say to hear patterns, and get accustomed to the pattern. But at the same time, it has been done so much, that as a composer, you want to get creative and do something else. So I think that's what Austin often does in his music. He's trying to get out of the box a little bit, and do these accents that are that change a lot as it goes on, but they're also not they are not predictable. That's the word I was trying to look for. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give this track a golden badge. I think it has obviously a wider range of incredible arrangements, but also my favorite part for sure were the tamed, more quieter parts, because they are the ones that not only release the tension, but also gives the track space and gives a whole contrast to what the storytelling of the track is trying to say. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share it with your friend. Also, please don't forget to visit my Patreon, my Ko-fi profile, and my Ko-fi store in case you want to support my work further, and my Teespring merch shop. And of course, ex nihilo nihil fit.